channel. I want to say good night, good day, good evening to everyone. Right? Now today, I wanted to talk about music. I'm addicted to music. For years, since I was small, I always would listen to a song. I feel it's because how I grew up around music. You know, listening to so many different types of music, different types of songs. Right? So I wanted to start to like go into reading about music. Alright. Just setting up some here. Alright. So music. Alright, so first we had about games. So it's two researches are conducted at the moment. So games and music. Alright. So we're going through the Stone Age history of music, from the Stone Age straight up to now. From the Stone Age when there was banging rocks to create sound, gathering around the campfire, banging rocks and making ooga booga noises, up to now where they have computerized music, electronic music, all different types of music. So yeah. So although different definitions of music vary wildly throughout the world, every known culture partakes in it, and it is thus considered a cultural universal. And it is thus considered a cultural universal thing. The origins of music remain highly contagious. Commentators are often relate commentators are often related to the origin of a language. So this connects to language as well, the origin of language, its relationship with human evolution and its consequence have been subjects of study for centuries. Scholars wishing to study the origins of language draw inferences from evidence such as the fossil record, archaeological evidence, and contemporary language diversity. Right, with such disagreement surrounding whether music arose before, after, or simultaneously with language. Look at that. So it's so intertwined that it has arguments surrounding it, whether music grew with language, or if language grew with music, or if so it's so intertwined that you don't even know which one was created first. With that different arguments, different, but yeah, many theories have been proposed by scholars from a wide range of disciplines. Though none has achieved broad approval, most cultures have their own mythical origins concerning the invention of music, generally rooted in their respective mythological, religious, or philosophical beliefs. While wow, that is a name. It's a Espanol name. Eduard Leon Scott de Martinville. Or French. The language so intertwined. Let's see if in fact I'll check that after. While this individual was the first ever person to record sound, the music of prehistoric cultures is the first firmly dated to the 8000 BC. Of the upper Paleolithic by evidence of bone flutes. Wow, that was hardcore. So bone flutes. Though it remains unclear whether or not the actual origins lie in the earlier middle Paleolithic period, 300,000 to 50,000 BP. I don't know what BP mean. The timeline of prehistory covers the time from the appearance of Homo sapiens approximately 315,000 years ago in Africa to the inventions of writing over 5,000 years ago, with the earliest records going back to 3200 BC. Prehistory covers from Paleolithic. Oh my god. Alright, let me just read this over. By evidence of bone fruits, right? So, though it remains unclear whether or not the actual origins lie in the earlier middle Paleolithic period, 300 to 50,000 BP, there is little known about prehistoric music, with traces mainly limited to some simple flutes and percussion measurements. However, such evidence indicates that music existed to some extent to prehistoric societies, such as the Zaya dynasty and the Indus Valley civilization. Wow. Upon the development of writing, the music of literature, or the music of literary civilizations, ancient music was present in the major Chinese, Egyptian, Greek, Indian, Persian, Mesopotamian, sound like an element, Mesopotamian and Middle Eastern society. It is difficult to make many generations. It is difficult to make many generalizations about ancient music as a whole, but from what is known, it was often characterized by monophony and improvisation. Improvisation. They get classes, right? In ancient song forms, the text were closely aligned with music, and though the oldest extant musical notation survives from this period, many texts survive without their accompanying music, such as the Rig Veda and the Shijing classic of poetry. The eventual emergence of the Silk Road and increasing contact between cultures led to the transition and exchange of musical ideas, practices, and instruments. Such interaction led to the Tang Dynasty's music being heavily influenced by Central Asian traditions, while the Tang Dynasty's music, the Japanese gagaku, and Korean court music, each influenced by each other. Historical religions have often been catalysts for music. The Vedas of Hinduism immensely influenced Indian classical music, and the five classics of Confucianism Confucianism laid the basis for subsequent Chinese music. Ah. The 7th century, dominated by Persia and the Arab world, and the Islamic Golden Age saw the presence of numerous important music theorists. Music written for and by the early Christian Church properly inaugurates the Western classical music tradition, which continues into medieval music, where polyphony, staff notation, and nascent forms of many modern instruments developed. In addition to religion or the lack of thereof, in addition to religion and in addition to religion or the lack thereof, a society's music is influenced by all other aspects of its culture, including social and economic organization and experience, climate, and the access to technology. Many cultures have coupled music with other art forms, such as Chinese four arts and the medieval quadrivium. Hmm. The emotions and ideas that music expresses, the situations in which music is played and listened to, and the attitudes toward musicians and composers all vary between regions and periods. Many cultures have or continue to distinguish between art music or classical music, uh, folk music, and popular music. So the origins now, I just kind of skimming through it. The origins. Music is regarded as a cultural universal. Hmm. Though definitions of it vary depending on culture and throughout history, as with many aspects of human cognition, it remains debated as to what extent the origins of music will never be understood, with scholars often taking polarizing positions. The origin of music is often discussed alongside the origin of language, with the nature of their connection being the subject of much debate. However, before the mid late 20th century, both both topics were seldom given substin- substantial attention by academics. Since the topic's resurgence, the principal source of contention is divided into three perspectives: whether music began as a kind of proto language, a result of adoption, right? Like how birds sing to us. Yeah, I guess it's something like that, like how birds sing to us, right? That led to language. If music is a spandrel, a phenotypic byproduct of evolution. A phenotypic byproduct of evolution. I mean, that was the result of language. Or if music and language both derived from a common antecedent. What does this word mean? Okay. There is little consensus or jeez, I really gotta get our glasses. Let's sit up and come closer to the screen. There is little consensus about any particular theory for the origin of music, which have included contributions from my tongue is flailing like a centipede. Which have included contributions from ecologists. Oh my god, this word. Or archaeologists, which have included contributions from archaeologists, cognitive scientists, ethnomusicologists, ethnomusicologists. That is a thing. Ethnomusicologists. That is a thing. Evolutionary biologists linguists, neuroscientists, paleoanthropologists, 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 philosophers, and psychologists, developmental and social. So there is little consensus on any particular theory from the origin of music, which have included contributions from archaeologists, cognitive scientists, paleoanthropologists, paleoanthropologists, right? Philosophers and physiologists, psychologists. Oh my God, psychologists, developmental and social, right? Some of the most prominent theories are as followed. Music arose as an elaborate form of sexual selection, perhaps arising as in mating calls. Like birds again, birds, different animals as do them kind of rituals, you want to call it. This theory, perhaps the first significant one on music's origins, is the descent of man. Oh shucks, right. Is generally credited to Charles Darwin. Credited to Charles Darwin. It first appeared in Darwin's 1871 book, The Descent of Man and Selection in Relation to Sex. And has since been criticized as there is no evidence that either human sex is more musical, thus no evidence of sexual dimorphism. There are currently no other examples of sexual selection that do not include considerable sexual dimorphism. Recent commentators citing music's use in other animals' mating system has nonetheless propagated and developed Darwin's theory. Because of that thing, the correlation. Such scholars include Peter J.B. Slater, Katie Payne, Bjorn Merker, Geoffrey Miller, and Peter Todd. Music arose alongside language, both of which supposedly descent of a shared precursor. The biologist Herbert Spencer was an important early proponent of this theory, as was the composer Richard Wagner. I think I heard that name before, Richard Wagner. Wilhelm Richard Wagner was a German composer, theater director, essayist, and conductor, best known by his operas, although his mature works are often referred to as musical dramas. Unlike most composers, Wagner wrote both the libretti and the music for all of his stage work. Okay. Who termed the music and language shared ancestor as speech music. Since the 21st century, right, a number of scholars have supported this theory, particularly the archaeologist Stephen Mithen. Music arose to fulfill a practical need. Propositions include to assist in organizing cohesive labor, proposed by the economist Carl Butcher, to improve the ease and range of long-term distance communication, first proposed by musicologist Carl Stumpf. Right, to enhance communication with the divine or otherwise supernatural, first proposed by anthropologist Siegfried Nadal. Okay. To assist in coordination, cohesion, and cooperation, particularly in the context of families or communities, to be a means for frightening off predators or enemies of some kind. Music had two origins, from speech, logogenic, and from emotional expression, pathogenic. First proposed by the musicologist Kurt Sachs. Reflecting on the diversity of music around the world, Sachs noted that some music confines to either to communicative or expressionistic form, suggesting that these aspects develop separately. Music presents sounds that are based on two primary origins: the sounds heard by the fetus in the womb, and two, emotionally generated vocalization. According to the theory of the emotional origins of music, first proposed by David T. This theory accounts for musical elements found in all cultures, including pulse, meter, discrete single frequency segments, notes, continuous, and instruments that create resonance enhanced periodic sounds. Or resonance enhanced. Many cultures have their own mythical origins on the creation of music. Specific figures are sometimes credited with inventing music, such as Jubal in Christian mythology, the legendary Shah Jamshid in Persian/Iran mythology, the goddess Saraswati in Hinduism, and the muses in ancient Greek mythology. Some cultures credit multiple organizations of music, Ancient Egyptian mythology associates it with numerous deities, including Amun, Hathor, Isis, and Osiris, but especially Ihi. There are many stories relating to music's origins in Chinese mythology, but the most prominent is that of musician Linglong, who, on the orders of the Yellow Emperor Huangdi, invented bamboo flute by imitating the sound of the mythical Feng Huang birds. Prehistory. This is the bones that they were speaking about earlier. Well, one of them at least. In a broadest sense, prehistory music, more commonly termed primitive music in the past, encompasses all music produced in pre-literate cultures, right? Beginning at least 6 million years ago, when humans and chimpanzees last had a common ancestor. Music first arose in the Paleolithic period, though it remains unclear as to whether this was the middle 300 or to 550,000 BP or upper Paleolithic, which is the 50,000 to 12,000 BP. The vast majority of Paleolithic instruments have been found in Europe and date to the Upper Paleolithic. It is certainly possible that singing emerged far before this time, though this is essentially impossible to confirm. The potentially oldest instrument is the Daiji babe flute. Daiji babe flute. From the Daiji babe cave in Slovenia, next to Russia. Cave in Slovenia dated to 43,000 and 82,000 and made from a young cave bear femur. Purportedly used by Neanderthals. The Daiji babe flute was received extensive extensive scholarly attention. This word, again, all of the new words. Google scholarly. Scholarly.so.ai learning and research skills for students. Scholarly definition is of characteristics of suitable exhibiting the traits of a scholar, which is in deep research and critical thinking. It describes serious, detailed studies how individuals are devoted an idea. So scholarly. Right. Attention. And whether it is truly or a musical instrument or an object formed by animals is the subject of intense debate. If the former, it would be the oldest known musical instrument and evidence of musical culture in the Middle Paleolithic. Other than the Divchi flute and three other doubtful flutes, there is virtually no surviving Middle Paleolithic musical evidence of any certainty. Similar to the situation in regards to visual art, the earliest objects whose designations as musical instruments are widely accepted are bone flutes from Swabian Jura, Germany, named from the Gizenkiosteli, namely from the Gizenkiosteli. Hohlfels and Vogelherd caves. Gizenki. Oh my god, that transition. Clo-Sterli. Clo. Gizenclostieri. Gizenclostieri. Yeah, that is word. Gizenclostieri. Dated to the Aurignacian and Aurignacian of the upper Paleolithic and used by early European modern humans. From all three caves, there are 8 examples, 4 made from the wing bones of birds and 4 from mammoth ivory. Wow. 3 of these are near complete. 3 flutes from the Gizenclostieri are dated as the oldest, 43,150 to 39,370 BP. Considering the relative complexity of flutes, it is likely early instruments existed. Akin to objects that are common in later hunter and gatherer societies such as rattles, shakers, and drums. The absence of other instruments from and before this time may be due to their use of weaker and thus more biodegradable materials such as reeds, gourds, skins, and bark. A painting in the cave of Ferreris, dating to 15,000 BCE, is thought to depict a shaman playing a musical bow. Prehistoric cultures are thought to have a wide variety of uses for music, with little unification between different societies. Music was likely to particular value when food and other basic needs were scarce. It is also probable that prehistoric creatures viewed music as intrinsically connected with nature and may have believed its use influenced the natural world directly. The earliest instruments found in prehistoric China are 12 Gude bones flutes. In the modern day, Jiahu Huajiang Henan from 6000 BCE. The only instruments dated to the prehistoric Xia dynasty is 2017 16,000 are two small bells, one earthenware, one bronze, and a zone. Due to this extreme scarcity of surviving instruments and the general uncertainty surrounding most of Xia, creating a musical narrative of the period is impractical. In the Indian subsequent, the prehistoric Indus Valley civilization from 2500 to 2000 BCE, in its mature state, has archaeological evidence that indicates simple rattles and vessel flutes were used, while iconographical evidence suggested early harps and drums also existed. An ideogram in the later IVC contains the earliest known depiction of an arched harp, dated sometime 1800 before 1800 BCE. So this is before, this prehistory, before civilization, before communities, all of these stuff that we have today, before anything. This is before you could even record history. This is off the radar stuff here. This is off the radar stuff. Alright, so I'll have to read this over a couple times, just like how I read over history of games. So I'll read that over again too. So I have to read over both of these and get back to it. So for today, I'll just leave a note about what I learned today. Alright, so bone flutes were a thing. Music has many origins. Music was formed, language was formed around the time period right. I'll just say that for now because they say there are plenty researches on it, and I am not really the person to pick a belief, so I just like to read up on different beliefs. Right, so language was just formed around the same time period. I'm not saying that language was formed from music, but there's no, it was just formed around the same time. That is all I'm saying. Alright. What else? Music connects with nature and your inner self. Alright, music and culture goes hand in hand. I believe that is all I got right for now. Alright, so until next time, I'll go more into depth about this research. I honestly believe that I'll do next time I'll live stream. I'll be doing next time I live stream about any research. I'll be researching about video games rather than the music. But I'll still go into either one. Find them interesting because I listen to music, but I don't understand why I like music. You know, like I like the nitty-gritty of it. You know. So yeah, it's something interesting as well alongside with the games. The music does actually connect to me. So, alright. So